Today we are at the chocolate factory in Montreal, Canada, and we like to learn about how chocolate is made from beginning till end with the halachic questions of it that's relevant to us. This is a cocoa pod. That's the way it grows on the tree, and that's a dry one. This is the way it looks like when it's fresh. You have more pictures here of how it looks like when it's fresh. Each pod like this has about 60 to 70 beans that grow in there. After it opens, you take out those beans. Those beans are covered with shells, and here's the shell. You open and you have yourself the bean looking like this. This, by the way, is edible. I ate myself from this. You make on this ha'etz because it grows on the tree, as I explained. And that is the question that we come to halacha. Once the chocolate is made already, why is it that it changes the bracha to she'akol? Really, it's a big controversy in the poskim. According to Avshom Zalman Auerbach and according to Rav Elyashiv, the bracha for this would remain borei pri ha'etz, even as the chocolate bar that we eat. And Shlomo Zalman wants to know, why is it that really people say she'akol, as it should remain that bracha, as we found in the Shulchan Aruch, Siman Resh Gimel and Resh Bet Sif Zayin, it says over there, Samim Shchukim, you have grinded spices, they remain the bracha of whatever they have. They don't change to she'akol. He wants to bring the Magen Avraham over there as well, that's normally remains the bracha if that's the way it's usually eaten. And therefore, since the chocolate is eaten as we have it in the bar, it's not eaten raw as we see here. It's not how people normally eat it. Therefore, it should remain the bracha of ha'etz. Moreover, that the Shulchan Aruch says in Resh Gimel Sif Zayin that temarim shema'achum, you have dates that you either smash it or you grind it, it remains the bracha of ha'etz. Although the Rema argues over there, but according to Shulchan Aruch, definitely one should say the bracha of ha'etz on such beans. And he comes to find out why is it that people make she'akol, when in reality the bracha should be ha'etz. He says that maybe because people don't really eat it raw, it's not edible raw. It's not like something else that could be eaten raw. This is not edible raw, although you could eat it, but it's bitter. People don't eat it like that. So therefore, maybe the bracha changes to she'akol, but still halacha holds it's ha'etz. Those that argue, there are many that argue and say the bracha is she'akol, like the Shevet HaLevi, Rav Wozner Zatzal, like the Yalkut Yosef, that brings like that the bracha changes she'akol. They say because there's a lot of other ingredients that added to it. Normally what's added to it is vanilla and a lot of sugar. The consistency of sugar goes around 60% in the US. So you have 60% of sugar and 40% of the cocoa powder. And in Europe it's a little bit less. Over there it's about 45% of sugar and 55% of cocoa powder. But since it's added a lot of sugar and you add also vanilla to it, so therefore maybe that's what changes the bracha to she'akol. According to the Or LeTzion, he wants to say that maybe since the tree that it grows is considered ilanot srak, it's not considered a fruit tree. Something that's not a fruit tree, the Shulchan Aruch says in Siman Resh Gimel that the bracha on the fruits that's not edible from that it's considered ilanot srak. Anything that grows on it should be she'akol. So that's the reason we make she'akol, but there are those that would say that the bracha on this would be ha'etz. But that's the way it grows. Here you go. First of all, you have the cocoa pod, you break it, you take those beans, cocoa beans out of it, which are about 60, 70 in each one of these. You put them on the ground to ferment. This is how they put them on the ground. They lay them on the ground to ferment and to dry. After it dry and fermented and to the right amount, they would take it and roast it in the oven. They need to roast it in the oven in order for it to look the way it looks right now. So the shell would be able to peel out. As you can see here, you peel out the shell and you have here the bean. You have to pay attention that since it was on the ground, that it shouldn't be infested as well. So that's something that they look into also, that it's not a ground that's infested while it's sitting there. Then you have again the beans like this. They break it down and they make it into these nibs. So this is cocoa nibs. So this is the process. Since it's roasted, so it's a question of Bishul Akum. So that's two times that you have question of Bishul Akum. One time is at the roasting. Secondly, after it's made already, as we'll see later, it's also melted. It comes, the way it works is that you need to take it, and it comes usually as a bar, chocolate bar, and the factory itself needs to put it on a temperature that's about 50, 55, 60 degrees Celsius, and that's already over Yad Zoledet, which is about 40 to 45 Celsius. And once it gets to that heat level, it's already considered cooked. So if you have a goy doing that, that's a problem. The reason they do it is because they have to kill the crystals, as you'll see soon. Once they kill the crystals, they bring it down to about 28 degrees, and by bringing it down to 28 degrees, they would have the right crystals needed. Crystals are there to make it to give it the crunchy look and taste, and be able not to melt immediately. This is a grinder over here that they grind the chocolate as it comes in order for it to have the consistency needed in order to give it the right shape and to make it ready to be used. So here the machine is being emptied, and we'll see how this machine has a grinder that grinds those beans that we saw before and gets them to this consistency.
This is bitter, right?
Yeah, this is before sugar is added.
That's right. Usually you add the sugar in here, but since it's for Pesach, so. Pass me one of those modules.
Here we can see already the grinder inside.
Basically, this is supposed to grind at under 20 microns. It goes to 60 in this grinder, but it's a basic grinder.
After you take this consistency, you can actually press it and bring out the fat. The fat is what you make the white chocolate from. This is what it is. The butter. It's called cocoa butter. So you separate the cocoa powder from the cocoa butter, and this is the cocoa butter. And then you add to it. By the way, that would be a question because it's not chocolate anymore. So it could be on that you're not going to make ha'etz, because that's only the butter that comes out of the cocoa. Because once you press the cocoa, you have over there two things: cocoa powder and cocoa butter. So the butter itself is removed, and this is what it is. You can see here. In order to make the white chocolate with it, you'll add what?
Sugar.
Sugar.
And milk powder.
and milk powder.
Vanilla.
And vanilla. And you make yourself the white chocolate with it. So here we adding the nibs in order for them to be grounded again, the way we showed before. Is the nibs over here, and they put into the grounder. You can just see exactly how the question in the halacha comes of the bracha, because the way it is right now as nibs, it would be a etz. This is a etz, and you grind it, shouldn't change the bracha at all, because of the reason we explained, like we explained in besamim sheshchakan and tamarim shemiachan, which remain the bracha. So here we go. This is a bar that comes ready, and it's put into the machine in order for it to melt. The reason you melt it is besides the fact that you want to melt in order to mold it, but you also want to kill enough crystals in it, which is equivalent to having a bacteria, in order for it eventually to bring back. So you see over here, to put it on a higher temperature. Usually it's about 50 degrees. So it's, as we explained, it's over Yad Soledet, and then it's brought down to around 28 degrees in order for it, in one hand, to higher the temperature so you kill enough bacteria, and then you lower it in order to catch the right crystals, not bacteria, it's crystal, it's equivalent, something like that. And that's what really makes it crunchy. As you can see, it's crunchy and it has a shape and a look. And that is already a question of having another question of Bishul Yisrael. Now, those that are mekel, those that are lenient with Bishul Yisrael, the reason is the Tshuvot Hanagot brings down, also it's already brought down in the Aruch HaShulchan in the name of the Pri Chadash, is because anything that you don't eat in a meal together as a seudah, just like this, you don't have a question of Bishul Yisrael. And it's a machloket, but that's how the Pri Chadash held, that something that's not is part of the seudah, part of the meal, you don't have to worry about having Bishul Akum, and you don't have to have a Jew turning on the machine, but those that want to be machmir. And therefore, over here, in this very religious chocolate place that we are here, in the chocolate factory that we have here in Montreal, called Excellence, they are doing everything with all the strict halachic laws. Also, you have over here a question of koshering such a machine. If when you buy such a machine, not new, it was used with non-kosher, how do you supposed to kashrut such a thing? Or for Pesach, so in one hand you can't run water through these machines because which would clean it and do agala, because that would ruin the machine. Then the poskim argued whether you can run other liquids in it. Chocolate, which is thick, is not considered, as you can see here, is not considered a liquid, so you can't really run the chocolate through it in order to kosher it. But some wanted to say maybe you should run oil through it, although it's not water. Some machloket rishonim, the Rashba spoke about this. So you have those questions here, how to kosher. You need to know that when you have such a machine, this thing also it spins and gets the same idea, and then the chocolate comes through here. You put it in a mold like this one over here, it gets hardened, and you take it out. And there's also a question of the filling. When you have such chocolate, you need to it's made in such way that you have a filling inside. So there's a caramel inside also, which has Kashrut questions and Bishul Yisrael questions. But as we said, there are reasons to be lenient for those things. Here you see those are things are filled. They're not just chocolate. They are made inside as a cup, and they fill it up as we shown before. And once it's filled up, here's for instance an example. It's open inside. They fill up with a caramel or with walnuts. Walnuts butter, so to speak. So that's also questions of how kashrut wise you should have with these things.